You're listening to The World Cafe. I'm Talia Schlanger. My guest this hour is Kate Tempest. She's a hip-hop artist, rapper, Ted Hughes award-winning poet, and playwright from South London. And a couple weeks ago, she played a show at the Boot and Saddle in Philadelphia. Now, if you have ever been there, it's a loud room. Everyone's got their phones out, talking, ordering drinks. There's noise. It's a bar. And just before 10 p.m., Kate Tempest walks up on stage. She looks like she could be your friend. Small, unassuming, wearing an oversized t-shirt and jeans, totally low-key. But as soon as she opens her mouth to rap, words tumble out of her with this intensity that is unmatched. She transforms into a magnet. Kate goes on to perform her latest album called Let Them Eat Chaos in its entirety, start to finish. And I swear, the whole time not a single person speaks or takes out their phone, you can hear a pin drop. Kate's here to recreate a bit of that magic on the World Cafe. She's going to perform the first 4 songs off her latest record in order, uninterrupted. So this is an invitation, if you can, to drop whatever you're doing, pull over on the road, put down the laundry, whatever, and listen. But first, a little context. Let Them Eat Chaos is a concept album about 7 strangers living in South London, where Kate's from, and it all takes place at a very specific time, 4:18 in the morning.
Well, essentially, it's an organising principle so that we can meet the internal realities of 7 strangers. Like, at that time in the morning, people are open with their vulnerabilities because essentially they are not in the day, the previous day, they're not in the coming day. The day doesn't belong to anybody else yet. It's not your employer's day, your family's day, your partner's day. It's just this strange time where you are entirely with yourself, and especially if you're unable to sleep at that time for whatever reason. Also, to be up at that particular time, it means that there's obviously something that's preoccupying you. Otherwise, you would be sleeping soundly. So it's a way into some characters who are interesting for a writer to grapple with, because why are they awake at 4:18 in the morning? And in fact, if you are the type of person that has been awake at that time or does often stay up into those kind of hours, you understand the repetitive kind of cyclical nature of insomniac thought or of kind of anxiety thinking, which lends itself well to rhythmic storytelling, raps, and flow, you know?
Yeah. The lyrics that I hear remind me of the thought pattern that you can get into where you get so sucked into a train of thought that you're on that, before you know it, it is somebody else's day by the time you come to and realize it. How did the 7 characters that you explore on the record come to you, or where do they come from?
Well, I don't know where they come from. Like the beauty of creativity is that you do your absolute best to facilitate an idea when it comes, but you have no business asking where it came from because you don't know. Like the characters on the record are people that populate my internal and external landscape. It's hopefully they are real enough to me that they can be real for you. And James Joyce says an interesting thing, which is that in the particular is located the universal. So I write about South London, where I'm from, but I locate it in such a specific geographical location, but also kind of internal location that hopefully it can resonate far beyond South London or far beyond England, or hopefully it can resonate here.
Yeah. Say the James Joyce quote for me one more time.
He says, "In the particular is located the universal."
Yeah.
And he was obviously talking about Dublin. He said that if I can get to the heart of Dublin, I can get to the heart of the world. And this is when he was exiled in Trieste and was writing Ulysses, which is obviously set so fully in Dublin, in his Dublin, which by that point was entirely imaginary for him. He was trying to find out what it was about this place that stayed with him. And when I read him talking like that, it really struck me, because I think he's right. In a big city, if you can get to the heart of that city, like, it can go so much further than that reality, because essentially it's home you're talking about,
Yeah. What are some of the particulars that make South London so special or so rich when it comes to storytelling for you?
People. It's full of people. It's a very big city. South London in particular is home, where I'm from, where I grew up and what I know. So, and it's full of so many different people. And I understand the codes of language. I understand the rules of behaviour because it's home for me. So I know how to live, breathe and partake in that city so that I can see people. But I think it goes for anywhere, really. In this job, we get to travel around a lot. You enter a city, and when you feel like you don't quite understand the rules in that city, it can be hard to allow yourself to disappear completely and observe. But this is the calling of somebody who's a poet or a musician, is that you're obsessed with or tuned into people, like how people behave. And I think there's an anonymity to a big city like London which allows people to exhibit their behaviour in such open ways, because there's so many of us everywhere. So people allow themselves to just exist, you know?
Yeah. The Amazing Observer, it just made me think of Joan Didion, who was such a great writer in the 60s and observers of people. And she talks in the intro to, I think it's just Slouching Towards Bethlehem that she talks about this, where she talks about her ability to disappear as one of her biggest assets as a journalist, that she's able to sort of just disappear and people go about their business and act as they are. And so she's able to just to take it all in rather than...
But it's a strange disappearance, because as well as you disappearing, you're then making yourself extremely visible because you sit down and start writing it, you know?
Do you do that on the spot? You said, yeah?
Yeah. But I mean also within the work, like you have to disappear not only from that moment but also from the work. Like you, and this is an interesting thing for a performer, you have to step up, take the stage, but for the writer you have to disappear completely, you know? And so that, it's an interesting moment of, I don't know, I suppose creative conflict, where you're like, part of you just wants to run away and like be in the background and just be watching, and the other part of you is like, I need to speak, I need to be at the front, I need to be on this mic, you know? So it's a strange one being both, you know?
When you're writing or when you're observing in your process, are you speaking the words out loud as you write them, or are you writing down words and then reading them and then editing? How does it go?
It changes all the time, depends what I'm working on. Like with music, when I'm in the studio with Dan or with G, with Craig, the process is all very much a musical process. So you become, as the lyricist, you become a kind of percussionist in that moment. So you're, obviously I'm the writer, but also I'm thinking about rhythm. Also, when you're editing, there's terrible lines that your eye will look over 100 times. You'll be like, yeah, it's fine, looks fine to me. And then you speak it, and your mouth will not bring itself to say such a clunky, terrible line. So, like, for example, when I'm working on poetry for the page, I had a collection that was published like maybe 2 years ago, and I hadn't read the entire collection. What I wanted to do was memorize the entire collection, speak it all entirely out loud, and that would form kind of a really valuable part of my editing process. But I was working at the time on another record, I was touring that, I had a manuscript for a novel that was due in. I just didn't quite find the time to do that until once the book was published. I then memorized it and then performed it to kind of launch it. And in that moment, I realized that there was like 4 or 5 lines that, had I taken the time to put it in my body rather than just be in my brain, I would have known that those lines didn't quite sit right in the wider context of them being part of a bigger piece. Because once you memorize text as well, something amazing happens. When you're reading out loud from a page, you're thinking about the next word. As soon as you've said one word, you're looking at the next word, you're thinking about it. But when it's in your body, when you've memorized it, the words come to you. You can think about the meaning of the word rather than thinking about the next word. The next word takes care of itself. You just have to be in that particular word. And that's when you really realise how terrible your writing is. Do you know what I mean? When you're in that space. So like that's my big tip to myself, is just before submitting, just memorise and speak out loud. It's time consuming, but I think it's an amazing editing tool, much better than reading and rereading and, you know, red lines. It's much better to just memorise and see what naturally drops off, you know?
Wow. How do you think about the collection of words that we're going to hear from Let Them Eat Chaos? Do you think of it as lyrics or poetry, or does the distinction matter to you at all?
No, I don't know. I don't really think it's important for me to know the difference. Like it began its life as a musical piece, as lyrics. I definitely think that they're songs, but also it has another life as a long-form poem. It's just a story, you know, it's a story, and it just so happens that I work in rhyme, because that's the natural home for me. But what I suppose is good to say about what the listeners are going to hear now is that it's the first part of a longer story. We meet a couple of the characters of the 7 who you meet on the entire record, and that for me it's kind of important that we played it all as one thing. When we play the show live, we play the entire record front to back. You know, it's like it feels. And I think when I meet the audience and come out at the beginning of the show and say hi, like, thanks all for coming, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to play the record front to back. Everyone's like, they start cheering. They're like, oh, amazing! Like we get to kind of go on this journey all together. And there's no kind of greatest hits. Like, not that we're at the level to have any greatest hits, but like, I think that people are genuinely refreshed by just being kind of taken into a deeper place with a performance, and just not having that bit in between songs where everyone feels a bit awkward and you end up trying to make a joke or something. You know, that bit, like, which used to really freak me out.
Yeah, you have to say something made up about the city from that day and get everybody to cheer and then go on with it.
So this song's about love. Like, you know, stop it.
Well, yeah, and people so rarely listen to music like that in general, even in their own private time, an album from start to finish, let alone getting together in one space to do that all together, and that's a powerful thing. Really thankful to have you do that for us. So let's drop into that story right now, okay? This is Kate Tempest performing live at the World Café.
Picture a vacuum, an endless and unmoving blackness, peace, or the absence at least of terror. Now see, in amongst all this space, that speck of light in the furthest corner, gold as a pharaoh's coffin. Now follow that light with your tired eyes. It's been a long day, I know, but look. Watch as it flickers and then roars into fullness and fills the whole frame, blazing a fire you can't bear the majesty of. Here is our sun. And see how the planets are dangled around it and held in that intricate dance? There is our Earth. Our Earth. Its blueness soothes the sharp burn in your eyes. Its contours remind you of love, that soft roundness, the comfort of ocean and landmass. Picture the world, older than she ever thought she could get. She looks at herself as she spins, arms loaded with the trophies of her most successful child. The pylons and mines, the power plants shimmer in her still, cool breath. Now is that a smile that plays across her lips? Or is it the tremor of dread? Is it the sadness of mothers as they watch the fates of their children unfold? In kaleidoscopic vision, the colors like drugs in your belly churning, your skin pulled loose as a pup's, then shaken and flattened, and everything's flashing, and the waves are magnified as they roll up towards you, and you're tiny as sand, just a speck. Now, as you approach the surface, all of that peace that you felt is replaced with this furious, never-known passion. You're feeling the people, their faces are bright in your body. You're feeling you want to be close to them, closer, because these are your species, your kindred. Where have you landed? Uncurl yourself. Stand up and look at your limbs, all intact, clothed in the fashion. This is a city. Let's call her London. And these are the only times you have known. Is this what it's come to, you think? What am I to make of all this? At any given moment in the middle of a city, there's a million epiphanies occurring, and the blurring of the world beyond the curtain and the world within the person. There's a quivering, the litter in the alleyway is singing. Fall in love, drift apart again. Underage drinkers walk the park and watch the dark descend. Workers watch the clocks fiddle with their Parker pens, while the grandmothers haggle with the market men here, where the kids play and laugh till they fall apart. Kiss, chase and dancing till it's mistakes and darkened rooms. Too fast, too soon, too slow, too long. Move around all day but we can't move on. Is anybody else awake?
anybody else awake? Will it ever be day again? Overflowing plant pots, fence posts, decorated door numbers, motorbike beneath a tarp, beaten up hunter, goalposts painted on them green garage doors. There's a rainbow on that wheelie bin, there's stickers in that window. Smart flats, rough flats, can't get enough. Cat flats, you know, 17 cat flaps, rich flats, broke flats, new flats, old flats, luxury bespoke flats, and this has got to be a joke flats. Pensioners, toddlers, immigrants and Englishmen, family of 6 kids, single businesswoman. Everybody's here trying to make or scrape a living. The fox freezes on the alley wall and stands still, sniffing. Bare branches sway in the front garden. The lion mouth, door knocker flaps in the breeze. Street lights glint on the beware of the dog sign. Beer cans and crisp packets dance with the dead leaves. It's 4:18 a.m. At this very moment, on this very street, 7 different people in 7 different flats are wide awake, they can't sleep. Now of all these people, in all these houses, only these 7 are awake, and they shiver in the middle of the night, counting their sheepish mistakes. Is anybody else awake? Will it ever be day again? Is anybody else awake? Will it ever be day again? So we start on the corner, with our back to the wall, next to the old phone box where the tramp leaves his bedding. The road runs ahead of you, there's houses and flats either side. Go ahead, walk down it. You go past the yard with the caravans there, behind the hedges. Now look, here, in the house opposite, black gatepost with a concrete frog squatting on top of it, through the hallway, ancient wallpaper, nicotine gold. Up the stairs, rickety, loaded with history. Here, in the top flat, flowers on the windowsill, little breeze fluttering the petals as they stare out at the city streets. Gemma is awake. What woke her? Open eyes. Street lights float slowly through her broken blinds, and she watches the shadows play across her tattered carpet, and she holds herself tight in the room's half darkness. It's cold. She wedges her hands underneath her armpits. It's 4:18, and Gemma's thinking. Before I was an adult, I was a little wreck, peddling whatever I could get my grubby mitts on. Ketamine for breakfast, bad girls for drinking with. Gave them puppy dog eyes for the acid on their fingertips. Heads in the basement, lips without faces, getting feisty. Half baked in a bakery, eating pastries. Desperate for a body who could save me, but I never really wanted what they gave me. Always wanted something else, sweating in the dough queue, spitting like a villain in a pantomime. Old shoes, bad tea, drinking in the rain with my ghost, sitting in the back of the class, comatose, villains on my back in a dance, hold me close. You never held, did some things I swore I'd never tell. You tried to kill me, run me down with your car in the snow. I didn't realize how far you would go. Every day I've lived, lives in the day I wake up in. My dreams are all screaming, but I'm fine now. Something remains, are still pulling me. Yeah, my future is bright, but my past trying to ruin me. Tried to change it, but I know if you're good to me, I will let you go. Tried to fight it, but I'm sure if you're bad to me, I will like you more. I saw some things when I was young that made me who I would become. I feel them with me every day, cause if you try and run away, run beside you pace for pace, trip you up and drag your face through the mud of every wasted chance and every bitter taste. Heart is sprayed up with the names of all my friends who lost their way. Doesn't change, it all remains. It takes my strength and gives me shame. All I want is someone great to make me everything I ate, but the only ones for me are the ones that shouldn't be. Even though I'm doing good, working hard, working strong, might be fun just for a while to go back where my hurt is from. Rinse myself to emptiness and push my body close to anybody who can recognize the presence of my ghost. Tried to change it, but I know if you're good to me, I will let you go. Tried to fight it, but I'm sure if you're bad to me, I will like you more. Tried to change it, but I know if you're good to me, I will let you go. Tried to fight it, but I'm sure if you're bad to me, I will like you more. in the basement flat, by the garages where the people dump their mattresses. Esther's in her kitchen and she's making sandwiches. The slats on her blinds are all wonky and skewed. You can see the top of her head from the street before she moves out of view to kick her boots off tired feet. Esther wipes her forehead with her wrist. She's just got back from a double shift. Esther's a carer. She's doing nights. Behind her on her kitchen wall, there's a black and white image of swallows in flight. Her eyes are sore, her muscles ache. She cracks a beer and swigs it. She holds it to her thirsty lips and necks it till it's finished. It's 4:18 a.m. again. Her brain is full from all she's done that day. Esther knows that she won't sleep a wink before the sun is on its way. Now she's worried about the world tonight. In fact, she's worried all the time. She don't know how she's supposed to even try and put this worry from her mind. Europe is lost, America lost, London lost. Still we are clamouring victory. All that is meaningless rules. We have learnt nothing from history. The people are dead in their lifetimes, dazed in the shine of the street. But look how the traffic's still moving. System's too slick to stop working. Business is good, man, there's bands every night in these pubs. Yeah, it's 2-for-1 drinks in the clubs. Are we scrubbed up well? Washed off the work and the stress. Now all we want some excess, better yet, a night to remember that we'll soon forget. All of the blood that was bled for these cities to grow. All of the bodies that fell, the roots that were dug from this earth so these games could be played. I see it tonight in the stains on my hands. These buildings are screaming. I can't ask for help here. Nobody knows me. Hostile, worried, lonely. We move in our packs. These are the rights we were born to. Working and working so we can be all that we want. Then dancing the drudgery off. But even the drugs have got boring. Well, sex is still good when you get it. To sleep, to dream, to keep the dream in reach. To each a dream. Now don't weep, don't scream. Just keep it in, keep sleeping in. But what am I gonna do to wake up? I feel the cost of it pushing my body. Like I push my hands into pockets and softly I walk. I see it, it's all we deserve. The wrongs of my past have resurfaced despite all we did to vanquish the traces. Please, my very language is tainted with all that we stole to replace it with this. I am quiet, feeling the onset of riot. Riots are tiny, man, systems are huge. Traffic keeps moving, proving there's nothing to do. Cause it's big business, baby, and its smile is hideous. Top-down violence, structural viciousness. Our kids are dosed up on prescriptions and sedatives, but don't worry about that, guys. Worry about the terrorists. Yes, the water level's rising. The water level is rising. The animals, the elephants, the polar bears are dying, but stop crying, start buying. But what about the oil spill? Shh, no one likes a party pooping spoil sport. Massacres, massacres, massacres. New shoes. Ghettoized children murdered in broad daylight by those employed to protect them. Live porn streamed to your preteen's bedroom. Glass ceiling, no headroom. Half a generation live beneath the breadline. Oh, but it's happy hour on the high street. Friday night, at last, lads, my treat. All went fine till that kid got glassed in the last bar. Place went nuts. You can ask our Lou, it was a madness. The road ran red, pure claret. Oh, and about them immigrants, I can't stand them. I mean, mostly I mind my own business, but they're only coming over here to get rich. It's a sickness. England, England, patriotism. And you wonder why kids want to die for religion. It goes work all your life for a pittance. Maybe you'll make it to manager. Pray for a raise. Cross the beige days off on your beach babe calendar. The anarchists are desperate for something to smash. Scandalous pictures of fashionable rappers in glamorous magazines. Who's dating who? Politico cash in an envelope. Caught sniffing lines off a prostitute's prosthetics. And it was back to the House of Lords with slapped wrists. They abduct kids. They molest the heads of dead pigs. But him in the hoodie with a couple of spliffs, jail him. He's the criminal. It's the bored of it all generation, the product of product placement and manipulation. Shoot 'em up brutal, duty of care, come on, new shoes, beautiful hair. Bull, saccharine ballads and selfies and selfies and selfies. Here's me outside the palace of me. Construct a self and psychosis, and meanwhile the people were dead in their droves, and nobody noticed. No, wait, my mistake, somebody noticed. I could tell by the emoji he posted. Sleep like a gloved hand covers our eyes. The lights are so nice and bright, so let's dream. Yeah, but some of us are stuck like stones in the slow stream. What we gonna do to wake up? We are lost, we are lost, we are lost. And still nothing will stop, nothing pauses. We have ambitions and friendships and courtships, to think of divorces, to drink off the thoughts of the money, the oil. The planet is shaken and spoiled. Your life is a plaything, a garment to soil, the toil. I can't see an ending at all, only the end. Tell me, how is this something to cherish when the tribesmen are dead in their deserts to make room for alien structures? Develop, kill what you find if it threatens you. No trace of love in the hunt for the bigger buck. Here in the land where nobody gives up.
That's Kate Tempest performing off Let Them Eat Chaos. The first 4 songs on the record, right? All in sequence. And that performance, if anything, is an invitation to listen to the rest of our chat, but also listen to the rest of the record, hear the rest of the story. What happens to Gemma? What happens to Esther? Where do they go? A lot of the issues that come up on Europe is Lost, like poverty and capitalism and greed and ignorance of people who we ought to be paying attention to and caring about, have been around, unfortunately, for a really long time. But there's right? But there's an incredible urgency to the way that you sing about them in this moment and on this record, Let Them Eat Chaos. So is there something that feels new about the particular times that we're living in, or extra urgent right now?
Well, this thing comes up quite a lot with people kind of talking about we live in these times of particular, like, fear and dread and difficulty. But I say to that, like, you're late. If you think that this is a particular time of dread, you're late. Where have you been? Why have you not been listening from the beginning? Like, we knew from when we were children that the times were the way that they are, and that we were heading the way that we're going. The one thing that's very unique about the situation that we're in is that we're in the middle of a complete revolution in terms of technology and communication. And it probably feels in society a kind of time of such upheaval that we haven't experienced since the Industrial Revolution or the Agricultural Revolution, because this is a huge moment in terms of development of possibility for the human race. But at the same time, the things that people are getting kind of panicky about observing, these are not new things.
You said that on balance, Let Them Eat Chaos, that there is a silver lining, and that there is, if not hope, then at least a feeling that things are maybe okay at the end. What's the silver lining on the story?
The message is a hopeful one, because I feel very hopeful. I think if you make artwork of any sort, then you can't help but feel positive, because you're engaged in this beautiful process, which, although like maybe the inspiration or what drives you starts in a feeling of concern or difficulty or pain, you know, very often it can come from deep pain. But then once you have created the work, love takes over. You know, it hopefully offers a peaceful and hopeful resolution to the concerns of some of these individual characters, and also to the concerns of us, the makers of the record, and hopefully you, the listeners of the record. But, you know, all this stuff, it comes from love. Like, it's love. You know, that's the only, I keep repeating myself, but I think it's important to say.
That's the universal that we find in your particulars, I suppose.
Well,
right?
yeah, because I'm moved by love to write at all. It's because I love people. I love them so much, like, that they fill me up, and I think, like, oh my goodness, look at the way that particular stranger that I've never met just dropped that item that he was carrying and then had to kind of bend down and pick it up without dropping the other things he's carrying, and watch how that little girl who's on her way to school is trying to let go of her mum's hand, and look, her mum's not letting her, and look how cool her mum is, and then, oh my goodness, look over here, there's like a whole load of people, and like tiny little moments between strangers, watching the way that people make eye contact or don't, or like the way that people move when suddenly you know that they kind of, you know, if somebody realises they've forgotten their watch on the street, they will make a big pantomime about like checking, oh goodness, like, or drop their keys, or like this kind of juxtaposition of private and personal life where you feel as a writer kind of party to the interior reality of people's lives, and it's entirely fabricated. Obviously, I don't know the first thing about these people's lives, but there is something about the way that I perceive people to be relating to each other that I find illuminating, and it fills me with just, you know, love, deep love. And so I write characters to make peace with the fact that I'm in love with human beings, like, you know. So I try and create these things that I've seen, and I try and explore characters, and I try really hard to not kind of damn any characters or limit any characters or direct any characters into these kind of dead-end cliche scenarios. It's really hard, like, because as a writer you inherit cliche. It's a tough old thing, but the thing is, literature, music, these are teachers of empathy. So it's this kind of feedback loop of it begins in love, then it teaches you more about love to do it, and suddenly you're out on stage just beaming, like looking at all these people being like, this is the greatest job in the world, and I feel so grateful and happy and lucky. And at the same time, we're all going to go somewhere together, and by the end of it, hopefully, like, we're all going to feel charged up. The thing that I don't know is what to do with that feeling after the show. Like, what am I asking people to do with these feelings, and where are they meant to take it?
That was the exact question that I wanted to ask you.
I don't know.
To close off with. What would you want them to do? Is it practice radical empathy in whatever form that takes? Like, that's the one sort of.
Well, my hope is like that you go out into the world after an experience of a live show, whether it's music, theatre, poetry, and you feel like you can see the world again. You remember to energize every inanimate object with its beauty, and you remember to notice people rather than just your own tunnel vision. You just humble yourself enough to listen. You're better equipped to deal with living in the kind of insanity of a synthetic environment like the city. I think it rehumanizes. In its best moment, that's what art can do for us. And I think bigger than a political aspiration, this is the aspiration that like I aspire to, which is that people leave the show more fully situated in the present tense and more able to just be alive in that moment. Do you know what I mean? Take that home and really see people, really listen. And then that has implications, because this is the problem, is we're not listening. We are not listening to ourselves or each other. It's so loud. This is our role as artists now in this time, to remind people to listen.
We're going to leave it there with a reminder to listen. Kate Tempest and Kate's drummer, Quake, is here too.
He's not just my drummer, he's his own man as well.
Oh, yeah?
Drummer many artists.
Wait a minute. A multifaceted human being I have before me? Stop it.
You'd have never guessed.
I'd just like to say thank you, Talia, for having us on and allowing us the space to talk about some of these things to this kind of invisible community of people. And I'd like to say that was a really interesting interview, and thanks for the questions. And I hope that the audience have enjoyed the discussion that we just had.
I'd like to second that as well. Big up, Talia.
Oh.
Smashed it. No, honestly, smashed it.
Thanks,
Definitely.
you too. That means a lot. I've been excited to talk to you for a long time. And everyone listening, listen to Let Them Eat Chaos from start to finish, won't you? Okay? You're listening to The World Cafe.